Welcome to the Healthy Hustling Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Broadworth, and I am here with Mary Ochsner. She is a yoga teacher, Mary is, and she also hosts her own podcast called it is positive. It's
Her vibe is pretty.
Her vibe is pretty. Sorry, for some reason I was thinking like positive vibe, but her vibe is pretty. She just launched that. She has her own for her yoga teaching. She's got her own yoga app out there, which is super impressive, and we're going to be talking all about that. I've checked all that out, and that is a really cool thing that she's got going. So, yeah, thanks for joining us here, Mary.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Eric.
Yeah. So, um, Mary and I, we kind of met. We went to undergrad college together, and yeah, just kind of a brief connection too. And I also play hockey against, I know her husband Jake. So this is awesome to have you on. I think you're doing an awesome job with all the yoga apps and the teaching and everything that you're doing, all the stuff that you're putting out online. I think it's very valuable. And so just to touch off, when and how did you get started with yoga?
Yeah, so yoga is now a huge part of my life. But I started practicing about 8 or 9 years ago. So I've been doing it for quite a while, on and off for most of it. But I was in this crazy stressful job that was working me insane hours. And I just knew, I was like, I'm stressed out to the max. This is not sustainable. As soon as I left that crazy job and got a more steady, regular job, I was like, I'm about to sign up for some fitness classes because I need to do something healthy for myself after that insanity of a job before. And I found just some local, through the community, just some local yoga classes. So I signed up for that. I had to go buy a yoga mat. I didn't know any yoga pose names. I knew nothing. I had a friend come with me and she's like, girl, you're about to have the best sleep of your night, like of your life. It's going to be so relaxing. You're going to love it. I'm like, all right, yeah, I need that. So I go to this yoga class in a gymnasium with, 20 people, all ages. And I was blown away. For the first time in my entire life, I was relaxed. I was taking time to notice my breathing and feel like it was just simple things that you're like, oh, that's obvious, but I never felt before. She's relax your shoulders away from your ears. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I was really tensing up in my neck and shoulders. Take a slow, deep breath in, take a slow, deep breath out. I've never felt this before. And it was a very much like aha moment for me because I never realized how stressed and tense I was on just an everyday basis. That was my normal.
Yeah.
And that's how I got really sucked in. So from there, that is when I started learning, like, what are the pose names? What am I doing? I had like a dance and cheerleading background. So I was pretty used to putting my body into different shapes, moving creatively, that sort of thing. So I was able to pick up on that portion fairly quickly. But in terms of like the mental clarity and the relaxation and reducing stress in a healthy way, that wasn't, just binge drinking on the weekends to like turn your brain off, or just like always going to that glass of wine at the end of the night. Like, it was a very healthy, sustainable thing that I could do forever because yoga can be modified whatever level you're at and whatever stage you are in your life. So from there, I started, trying different yoga studios and trying different styles of yoga. And I took some crazy yoga classes. I took some that I really resonated with and just fell in love. That's awesome. Then I went with a friend to a yoga retreat. And that was when I was like, okay, this is amazing. And this needs to be part of my life, like my everyday life.
Yeah.
And my business. People are making a business out of this.
Where was the retreat at?
Ooh, the retreat was in Aruba. Nice. It was amazing. It was with, her name is Rachel Brayson. She's like, oh, I just love her. She is on Instagram. She's Yoga Girl, one of the biggest yogis kind of in the industry. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. And so I went with Liz and Lila from Grand Valley too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we went to her retreat. And that was just, again, this like light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I need to make this part of my everyday life. And she's doing this as a business. Like, her job is yoga. She does this for work. And that's when I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to make this a bigger thing in my life.
I think that's awesome. And I think you hit on like two really key things that, I, that's one thing that made me switch to my own business as well, right? Is like healthy mindset and not being so just like work doesn't have to be completely stressed out and having people looking over your shoulder. So we're just so stressed out all the time. And then when you can combine like your income with a healthy lifestyle and make it all mesh, I mean, you just wake up feeling way better. And as far as the breathing, you're talking about the breathing. I'll instruct my patients a lot of times with that diaphragmatic breathing, the belly breathing. And what a lot of people who are stressed and in pain, and you watch them, they're all breathing, through their chest. They're not using their diaphragm as they should. And then that all affects their nervous system. And I mean, you can get all into that, but that breathing portion is so key. And that's such a big part of yoga is the breath.
Huge.
That is, I would say, a good 50% of yoga is just learning how to breathe properly and breathe while you're in certain positions, as well as just letting your body relax. So how long have you been instructing and teaching yoga then?
Yeah, so I took my yoga teacher training. I went on that retreat and I was like, oh, dang, this is amazing. I need to do more of this. So that's when I got a lot more serious about my own personal practice. And I was just practicing on a more regular basis. I was trying to learn on my own kind of as much as I could through books and videos and classes and that sort of thing. And I just knew I needed to take a teacher training and become a teacher myself. I wanted to share this with as many people as possible. So that was when, that would have been 2016 is when I graduated from yoga teacher training.
Okay.
And then from there, I was working full time at my job still. I was teaching one day a week or honestly, any gig that I could find. I was like, yeah, I'll teach yoga for sure. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of teaching as much as I could, which was mostly like one day a week. And I really loved it. It was really powerful. And at the same time, that was when I was starting to learn more about online business. And that was when like different social media platforms were really starting to explode. And there were just more of these like online yoga people and online fitness people popping up. And I'm like, I want to be one of them. Like, I want that. And so then that leads me to, I was teaching for a while, and then that leads me to a couple years later in 2018 when I did quit my job to pursue my own online yoga business.
That's so awesome. So going into that with your app, and it's Mary Ochsner Yoga, right? That how did you develop your app? How long did that take to do?
Oh my gosh. So I don't want to get too like woo-woo on you, but I swear I'm a good example of like when you tell the universe you're ready, the stars align. So I quit my job in the summer of 2018, and I didn't know what I was going to do exactly. I saved up a bunch of money because I was like, all right, let's just say I don't figure anything out for like a year. I'm going to give myself a cushion so that I'm not stressed out about money and stressed out about what am I going to do for this business?
Right.
And so I kind of went into it prepared, but also having that space in my life now that's like, all right, I've opened up my life. I don't work 40 hours for anyone else now. I'm here to show up and create this yoga business, however it sort of shows itself. And so I started that by sharing Instagram yoga tutorials. I was like, you know what? I want to teach people yoga. Everyone's on Instagram right now.
What is your Instagram handle? And I'll be sure to tag you, but can you just tell everyone your Instagram handle?
Yeah, it's just at Mary Ochsner.
Okay.
And definitely tag it because my last name is kind of hard to spell.
Yeah, I will for sure tag it. Which your Instagram, you do such an awesome job of breaking everything down, making it fun and easy. You do a really good job of just, your content is awesome out there. So
thank you so much. Yeah. No, thank you. It means a lot because I have really poured my heart and soul into, the content that I'm creating, whether it is for Instagram or for my app. So it means a lot to hear that. Thank you. So here's where the crazy stars align. I'm making every day, I'm making these Instagram tutorials. I'm learning more because as people are like asking questions, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. So I have to like research and learn. So I'm just like learning a ton. I'm loving it. My audience is starting to grow, which is like super exciting. And I'm like helping people who are like, I'm so glad I found you. Like, this is amazing. I'm like, you found me, like little old me. That's crazy, So it was a really fun and exciting time. And I get a message in my DMs from this guy from San Francisco who's like, hey, have you ever thought about making an app for your yoga stuff? He's like, I love your tutorials. I love what you're creating. We should chat. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds awesome. I don't know if you know this, but my sister-in-law has an app as well for fitness gym stuff. Yeah. So I kind of knew that could be a thing. Obviously I know someone who has that. So I was like, sure, let's chat. And so I end up connecting with these guys who have this, app development company in San Francisco. And it is, I get chills. It's like the stars aligned. These guys are freaking amazing. And they literally they slid into my DMs. Like that's how it happened.
That is awesome.
And so I got connected with them. They were a smaller app development company. I'm this like new blossoming yoga instructor. And it just was a really amazing match. So together we designed and created the app that I have.
How long did it take to create the app? Like so you started it roughly in 2018 when they reached out to you. When did you launch it?
So let's think here. I was chatting with them in like the fall of 2018. So it was several months. I think we had the first free version of the app available in March of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So it was a few months for them to get kind of like the very basic bones of the web or the app put together. And then I created 8 videos at that time that were just free videos. And those are actually still on the app today. They're like, we laugh. I feel like I need to recreate them because they're kind of like the first cringe-worthy videos. Yeah. But they're the free ones that are on there still to this day. And, they're voiceovers. Some of them are kind of blurry. Those are the ones that I feel like I need to redo because since then I've really learned a ton about video editing, video production, because I do it all myself. I've kind of had to learn this new skill.
Yeah, no, and it takes a lot to video edit, and I'm always dabbling in that a little bit. Over the past year, I've gotten more into video editing, and you start off with some free software, and then you learn like, if I really want to take this to the next level, if I'm serious, about my business, I need to invest in it, and it's going to be worth it. So yeah, those first videos, they're always fun to look back on too. And it's like, man,
I know. Well, and it's one of those things too, and you can probably relate to this as well, is that you can get so caught up in seeing what someone else has been doing, who's been doing it for years and is a pro at it. And then you look at your crappy first video and you're like, oh, but this sucks. Like, I'm not going to put this out there because it's bad. And look at so-and-so over there doing it and they're so good at it. They've been doing it for 10 years. And so as an entrepreneur with anything that you're starting, whether it's starting yoga, starting your business, starting a new sport or activity, whatever it is, like you got to put yourself out there. You've got to just start doing it and you get better and better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And it's, you have to have those like crappy first drafts, they say, before you can get better. So if you just hold yourself at this need to like be so perfect before you do anything, it's like, you're going to be waiting there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I laugh because literally like in my opinion, the worst video is the most popular video on the app. It is the one that is done by thousands and thousands and thousands of views on, in my opinion, the worst video. So you know what? Again, if I wouldn't have put that out there, none of those people would have had that opportunity to practice with it.
That's
so
true.
And no one says to me like, hey, this video sucks. Everyone loves it. They love the morning yoga video. So
it's funny because with like some of the stuff that I put out there, as far as my content, it'll be something like super simple. And I'm like, okay, I just got to put something out there. So I'll shoot a quick video and I think I'm like, this isn't my best work, but whatever. And then that ends up being the most popular. And I've just found that like making things simple for people and just relating to them, and just simple is better sometimes, and not going super complex or flashy or anything like that. Cause then people just, I think they just don't necessarily relate as well, or maybe they get intimidated. So yeah, it's funny how that
I
can work,
agree
that's for sure.
100%. 100%. I think we are always trying to like make things be this exciting, flashy, like recreate the wheel. And it's like, no, people still need the basics. They need it to be simple, and they need to know exactly what to do next. And that is what I have done or tried to do with my Instagram, is just make it very simple. Like, these are bite-sized things that you can start doing now. You
Yeah.
don't need to wait. You don't need to like watch the whole thing. You can literally get started immediately.
Yeah, that's awesome. So your niche, we'll go into that. Your app is aimed primarily at people who are just beginning with yoga, correct? Like you deal with a lot
Yeah.
of beginners. You don't know where to start or what to do. Maybe you've never taken a class before, or maybe you're like a year in. I would say a year is definitely pretty new. What would you consider as far as like new and fresh? Would you say it's like that first year, 5 years? Yeah, who do
It's
you?
going to be so different. Yeah, there's really not a perfect answer for that. It's because it's totally going to depend on what kind of background you had. For example, I was brand new to yoga, didn't know any of the pose names, but you could throw me in some of these, more advanced postures, because I had a dance background, because I had a cheerleading background.
Right.
But on the other hand, you might have a student who is much more spiritual. They've done breath work before. They're familiar with that, but maybe they're not flexible in their body. They're not able to put themselves in some positions. So honestly, that's why I love yoga so much. And I mentioned this, like, it's a practice that you can literally mold to where you are today, whether you are this like athlete who's able to hold these advanced postures, or maybe you've never done something before, or maybe you used to be able to do something, but now you're injured. So you
Yeah.
need to find a variation that fits you where you are. And so maybe on one side, you can go into the full splits, for example, and on the other side, you're not even close. So yoga really meets you where you are. And so, yeah, that's been a big thing in my business, is sharing and teaching modifications, and really encouraging the student to honor their body where it is today. And so one thing I say in almost all my classes probably is like, find your edge. And so your edge is going to be different. That's not going to look the same for you as it looks for me or anyone else who's taking that class. It's the student who needs to pay attention to, okay, where's this edge in my body where I'm in a good position, where I'm kind of taking it as far as I can go, but not taking it too far to that point of injury, or forcing myself to go into a position I'm not quite ready for yet.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, you could say, like, if you practice once a month for a year, yeah, you're going to be very beginner. But if you dive into it and you start practicing every day, or 5 times a week, or 3 times a week, you're going to advance a lot faster. So what I say to a lot of people too, because I get this message in my DMs all the time, how long will it take me to do this? And it's like, well, that totally depends. There's not a set time of this,
Yeah.
but the underlying rule, or whatever you want to call it, is the more consistently you show up in practice, the quicker you're going to see the result that you are looking for.
Yep. And I think that goes along with anything in life, really. It applies to yoga. It applies to weightlifting, CrossFit. I work with a lot of CrossFitters and runners, and your work, when you go to work, and education, your own growth. Do you work with? Do you have a lot of athletes following you? I have a pretty big following. I would say I specialize with CrossFitters and runners and athletes. Do you find that they've gravitated just because they've heard about yoga? They maybe know they should be doing yoga, but they don't know where to start. Do you find that you're working a lot with them, and it helps their other sports maybe that they're doing?
Absolutely. I definitely get a lot of runners for sure. I would say runners is probably the one that, at least they're the most vocal and they share,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a runner and I've been doing your classes and they've helped a ton. Also a lot of like rock climbers. That's another one that I'm kind of surprised at how many people are like, yeah, I do rock climbing and this has helped me a ton. But there's absolutely been people who it like complements the other sports that they are doing.
Yeah.
And again, that is why yoga is so amazing, is because it can be its own thing. Like yoga is 95% of what I do for my physical exercise. I love it. It's the one thing I can continue to show up and do, and I look forward to it. But then there's a lot of people who have this other primary sport or these other activities that they love to do, these other sports or whatnot, and it helps complement them. It helps them feel better in their body and perform better in whatever they're trying to achieve in. And so it can be both, it doesn't need to be like all or nothing. Even if you just, again, I think any yoga, 5 minutes of yoga is better than none at all.
Yeah. And there's so many different components to yoga, between your balance and your core work, your breath work, and being able to meditate and turn off that sympathetic, right, that fight or flight response and get into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. You've got a cardiovascular piece, with your power and your flow yogas and things like that. So I definitely think it can be, for sure, a full body strengthening. It's got it all, for sure. What do you tend to like most about yoga? I know you mentioned like hitting on the fact that it can meet you where you're at, but which part of yoga do you enjoy the most?
Yeah. So there are so many things. The thing that really hooked me, and the reason why I have stuck with yoga over any other sort of physical activity, is the mind, body, and soul connection that it offers. And I'd say that is what really sets yoga apart from most other workouts, is because you're not just moving your body and trying to pump out as many reps as you can and go harder and go faster and go stronger all the time.
Right.
It's very much about getting out of the busy mind and really connecting and stepping closer to the internal, to the physical body, and being present with whatever is there for you, because our body holds on to so much. And a lot of us, yoga teachers included, we're not always paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And so yoga really gives us this guide that connects us to ourselves on just a deeper level than any other sort of practice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, you can take it as deep as you want to take it. So, now, again, I kind of started off as like the workout yogi. I was like, ooh, I want to take a cute workout class. I'm going to sign up for yoga. That sounds fun. And it started as this workout, and now it has just become truly a lifestyle, and something that I try to go deep on my mat, but also take those lessons and take those feelings off my mat as well in my everyday life. And it's changed my life. Like, I can specifically look at so many things, my relationships to others, my relationship with myself, to my job and my performance, to just my life, my outlook. As soon as I started practicing yoga on a regular basis, I saw a huge positive shift. And I can't, again, everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different, but I know that is a big reason. Like, if you come to that practice and you are open and you kind of give yourself that freedom to feel and experience these things, you'll be amazed at the shift and transformation that you'll have.
Yeah. Yeah. Just putting yourself out there, like you kind of said from the beginning, right? That's awesome. So definitely people need to, if they're not following you on Instagram, they need to follow you. They need to check out your app, because this thing is awesome. And especially if you are super nervous right now, there's no yoga studios open, at least if you're in the state of Michigan, like we are. Unfortunately, we can't go to an in-person class, but I would say checking out your app is going to be the best thing that you can do right now. And all you need, it's nice to have a yoga mat, but you really you just need a floor space. That's all you need to be able to do this, which is so great. And again, the app is Mary Ochsner Yoga. It's on Google Play. It's on the Apple, in the Apple Store. And then you've also got, people should check out, we didn't really touch on this at all, but your podcast, Her Vibe is Pretty, that aims primarily for women, right? you just started that, correct?
Yeah, we're actually really new at the podcast, but honestly, I'm loving it. So we drop episodes every Wednesday, and we're ultimately teaching women how to grow and evolve into a higher version of themselves. So
Cool.
again, it's definitely not a yoga podcast. It's definitely more of a lifestyle mindset podcast. But I feel like it's a really good complement with yoga because it's
Yeah.
really about that, taking those practices and taking that mindset and applying it to your everyday life and the things that are possibly holding you back. So the one other thing too that I'll mention about the app is that right now we have a free 14-day beginner yoga challenge on there. So this is a really good time to kind of get started without having to pay or subscribe to the app. So it's in the free category if you download it, but it's also in the beginner category.
Okay.
And that's a completely free challenge for people to practice along with.
Okay, perfect. So free 14-day challenge. How long is that good for? When does that
We haven't officially decided how long.
Okay.
It'll be up there for quite a while.
Okay.
So we haven't decided. It might permanently be up there, but it might also come down at some point. So we'll
So
see.
if you're listening to this though and you haven't gotten a workout in for today, just go put this on pause. I'm sure you're listening probably on your phone. Download the app and check it out and just get moving for sure. And then, so for a bonus question I like to ask people is, what does healthy hustling mean to you?
Ooh, love that. Healthy hustling. I would say to me, healthy hustling is finding healthy ways to live your life in a way that is sustainable and you can achieve to make it more of a lifestyle instead of something like a diet or this workout you have to do, but it just becomes a part of your everyday healthy hustle life.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on this podcast. This has been great. It's been really informative. I'm super excited for you and everything that you got going on. You've done a really, really good job, and we will for sure stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. It has been awesome.